Hey all, welcome to the next section of pre-course, that is functions. So what are functions? Why do we use functions? We'll see in this section. So functions are basically reusable code blocks that are executed only when called. So first I will go ahead and create a new folder. I'm calling it as functions. So inside pre-course.js folder, I'm creating a new folder called as functions, and inside this functions folder, I'm calling one more, or I'm creating one more file called as say.js. So functions are reusable code blocks. So first from my command prompt, I'm going inside my functions folder here already. So we also need to know that what are the advantages of using functions. So primarily, while building web applications, it allows developers, or functions allows developers to break that code into smaller parts which are easier to understand, and more importantly, we can reuse the code whenever we want. So functions, we have very vital role while we are working with full stack JavaScript, be it React, Angular, Node.js, Express.js, or Mongo. So we extensively make use of functions. Knowing them clearly is very important. So let's get started. To know how to declare a function, we use function keyword first. So function, along with that, will give our function a name. So in this case, I am saying say hello. This is the name of the function. You can observe camel casing is here. Since we have two words, say is a word and hello is a word, so we have to give camel casing for the first letter of the second word, and then we have opening and closing round brackets, and then we have opening and closing flower brackets. This is the syntax of our function, and this function should return a simple string called as hello. So as we have learnt, this is called a function definition or function declaration. So whenever a function is defined, if we have to execute this function, we have to use that function name. So I'm just trying to execute this function, and we are referring to this particular function, and if we want to invoke that function, we all need to know that we use opening and closing round brackets. So that means to say the function is getting invoked only when we use opening and closing flower brackets. Using function name is fine, that is still referring to that function, but if we want to return what is inside this what is present inside this function, we have to use opening and closing round brackets. And at the end of the day, since we have to see what is getting printed on our terminal, we use console.log. So this is the breakup part of how to declare a function. So here the function is getting invoked. Now this return keyword, the role of this return keyword is basically return keyword returns some value from that particular function. So what if I don't use that return keyword? By default it says undefined. So return keyword is nothing but a jump statement that is allowing us to return something from that particular function, and it comes out of that function scope as soon as it is encountered. So whenever a function is invoked, it will return some value. It will return a value, or it should return undefined if return keyword is missing in it. So we don't want to return undefined every time, so we want to return a string. Hence we will mandatorily use return keyword inside functions. So in this case, I am putting return keyword before the string. So you can also see that what if I don't use it? I'm just console.logging, right? So I'm just executing this piece of code. Node say.js. So here we can see, right, hello is getting printed since we have return keyword. What if I miss this? It says undefined, so we don't want to print undefined, right? So we say return keyword. The point is return keyword is mandatory inside function declarations, and we have to refer to that function here by using opening and closing round brackets. I'm just repeating again. So when I go back and say run say.js, we can see that it is printing hello. So what if I remove return keyword? It prints undefined. So what is the return keyword means? Try to remember, return keyword is a jump statement. So this return keyword is a jump statement that causes the function to exit from that function scope. So this particular is called function scope. So whenever a return keyword is encountered, it jumps out of this function scope after printing whatever there is there in this return keyword or after this return keyword. So any statement that I have here inside function, so after return keyword I'm saying a statement called as let name is equal to Abhi. So I'm just printing my name. So when in the next line I'm saying console.log of name. So when I run this code, the function is executed and it is just saying hello. It is not printing anything after return keywords. So this line number 4 and 5 are not getting printed because of this return keyword. Return keyword is jump statement. It jumps out of this function scope. So that is the point. So because return keyword is a jump statement, that causes the function to exit. So as soon as it is encountered, so it jumps out of that function scope or it comes out of that function. So where does it come out means, so it comes out to this specific place where the function is invoked or where the function is called. So as soon as it is encountering with return keyword, it executes the line of code that is processed along with the return keyword and comes out to where it is invoked. So in this case it comes out to line number 7. So whatever we have returned, the value is returned and it will come back to this particular part. You need to understand that I can decide, you also need to understand that I'm here in this case I'm declaring one more function. So I'm calling it as function name, say name, and we'll see about return part later. And first I'm calling this function, invoking this function say name, and for invoking we use opening and closing round brackets, and I'm printing it console.log. And in this case I am passing my name as argument to this particular function. So inside invocation brackets we pass whatever we want to pass it as parameters, or whatever the values we want to use it inside the functions, we can pass it here as arguments. So in this case it is called as argument, and the same value we can accept here as parameter. So here I am assigning that value to a variable name called as name or first name, anything is fine. Name we can give anything, but if we are passing as argument, it should be accepted as parameter here. So this is called as parameter. So here I am passing my name here for the function as argument, and inside function I will do return hi plus name, first name. So what is happening here? Name, the first name that is present here inside the function is basically local to this particular function. So whenever I am defining a parameter, we no need to say var name. So here I am defining a parameter, right? So we don't need to say var first name. We don't need to do that. Instead, since it is local to this function scope, it automatically considers that we are declaring a new variable called as first name, which is being passed as parameter to this function, which is called as argument when we invoke it. I hope you got the point. So anything that is defined here is nothing but a variable, and we don't need to use var keyword. That is the point. So parameters are also variables, but these variables are available within this function. So this variable first name is available to us only within this function, only this function scope, between opening and closing flower brackets only. So let me run this code. So it says hi B, and I'm just giving a spacing here. So it says hi B. So we can see that if I print console.log of for the first time it is displaying, for the first, when I'm executing this piece of code, it is saying for the first time it is saying hello for this piece of code, and then for the next time it is printing hello hi B. So in the next line I just want to add something to show you that console.log of returned from the function. So when we run this, it is taking this argument as parameter here, and it is getting passed here, and it is getting printed as hi B. Okay, in the next example, I'm just showing you again the use case of return keyword, that I'm just declaring one more thing, console.log of my name is so when we execute this code, so we can see that first time it is printing hello here, this is from here line number 3, and second time it is printing here line number 10, and the third line is line number 14. So as soon as return keyword is encountered, it jumps out of the statement, or it comes out of this function, and it is executing the next line of code which is after this function invocation. So this is how the functions work in real time. So it also demonstrates that we are outside this particular function now. So when we execute it, it says return from the function. So this is what I said earlier, that return is a jump statement. So whenever we are declaring functions, we can specify parameters, and parameters are local variables to that particular function, meaning I cannot use that variable outside the function. So in this case, I cannot say console.log of name outside the function. So if I say console.log of first name outside the function, it says an error. So the point is, this variable name is available to us only within the function scope or function block of code, or within this function only. I will not be able to access the variable outside the function. So let's see this in action. So when we run this, it will display hello first. If we go above, it is displaying hello first from the first piece of code, this one, and it is saying hi b from the second line of code, or the second function, line number 10, and the third one is from line number 14. And when it is executing the 15th line, you can see the line number here, it is getting encountered an error. The error is first name is not defined, meaning it cannot access first name which is declared inside this function. So this first name variable is accepted only within this function, or it is only function scoped. That is the inner side of it. So more details regarding these variables and scope concepts we will be discussing anyhow in particular sections in level 2. There are specific sections where you see more in detail about these concepts like variable declarations and scope concepts. So for now, just understand that the parameter is a local variable here. So that is very, very important point to understand. This is accessible only within this function, and we cannot be used outside the function. And we have also seen how to declare a function without a parameter. So in this example, in the first example, we have seen how to declare a function without a parameter, and we can still execute or return something. Just remove this is not necessary for you now. So we can still use a function without an argument and a parameter, which is still valid. And we learned how to pass a value as an argument here, and to the function while invoking it, we can pass a value as an argument here, and if it is passed as an argument, it should be used as parameter here inside the function. So where it is function scoped. And very, very important, all these topics which we are covering right now are very, very important when it comes to functions. And return keyword is last and very, very important point. Return keyword is must and should for declaring functions, or return keyword is mandatory and must and should for function declarations especially. So with this, pre-course is completed. We will see level 1 of JavaScript from next sections or next classes. Thank you so much.